Hello everybody, Chris here, and today I want to talk about 10 of the top free plugins that I like to use personally on the sites that I create, including christutorials.com. So first up, we're getting started with the page builder. That's the Elementor page builder. There's many viable options for a page builder plugin out there, but at their core, they allow you to create pages using drag and drop interfaces. So you would see the same kind of thing on Weebly or Wix, and it's also possible to get it in WordPress as well nowadays. So if we want to create a new section, we can define columns. So we want a 2-column layout on this page, and then you just drag the element you want into the box. So maybe we want a testimonial there. We change this to whatever text the person we're getting the quote from is mentioning, obviously. And I'm going to give myself a quote. Sure. Well, we'll go with that. And you save the content when you have it as you want. You can always go back in and edit it. And of course, we can go over here and add new sections. So maybe we want an image. And we select the image generally from the media library. So I'll just randomly put this thumbnail from another video/post here. And that is a beautiful looking page. Now, I hope when you actually create your own that you spend some more time on it and make it look better. But the idea here is that it's pretty powerful for something you're getting free out of the box. It's clean, it's very comparable to the Weebly editor, and I like it a lot. It's definitely better than a lot of the competition out there. So next up, WP Super Cache. If you like your site running fast and you have a lot of viewers to your site, then the WP Super Cache plugin is going to be useful, because what happens whenever a user views your website, by default, WordPress runs on PHP, and the PHP code assembles a web page, basically feeding the HTML to the user after assembling it based on stuff in your database. But the problem is all that process, it takes time and energy to actually be able to do. So WP Supercache, whenever it goes ahead and creates one of those pages, it keeps a copy as a static page that it can serve to the user at any time. So if you have two users visit the same page, the first one might take a while to load, but the second guy, he's going to get that page a lot faster, because it's just basically sending a already made static page to that user. So that is one tool that can help you speed up your site. Next up, Ust SEO. I'm kind of a fan of this one, partially because it's a feel-good plugin, but also because it does actually help you to write better content. So in the post creation and page creation interface, you'll get this feedback for how much readability there is on your plugins, on your pages and your posts. Sorry, let me slow it down a bit. And what its SEO rating is. So basically, for SEO, you try to target certain keywords such as tutorial 2017 or something like that. And in order to get good search ratings, rankings in your search engine like Google, you want to have basically your keyword somewhere in your title, possibly in your headers for the post, and you probably want to mention the keyword at least a few times, not too much to where it becomes spammy, but you want to make sure that your content is focused around that keyword, so that when people go searching for that keyword, Google will know, oh, this blog post was talking all about it. So it helps you keep on focus. It also lets you know if your sentences are going too long. That's the readability aspect. And it also has some built-in tools for tying in with the Google and Bing Webmaster tools, which is important because when you log in with Bing or Google Webmaster tools, you let those services know that you have a site and that you want it to be crawled by the search engines. Why do you want it to be crawled? So that your posts actually show up in the search. Because a search engine can only show posts that it knows about. So by associating your site with your Bing account and your Google account, or your Microsoft account rather, Bing is Microsoft, you basically kind of, how to explain it? It like notifies them whenever you need to have things taken care of. So your sites will get crawled properly if you have Bing Webmaster Tools and Google Webmaster Tools, and you've properly associated your sites with them. That's a pretty terrible explanation for it, but the idea is you can tie in those tools really easily with Yoast, because they have links to all of them in the settings interface. Okay, next up, Akismet. So this one is actually included in WordPress by default. So in some ways, I would almost say, well, everybody's going to have it, but I guess it's very possible that you haven't set up Akismet, even if it's installed to WordPress packages by default. And what Akismet basically does, as you see here, is it's an anti-spam tool. So when people come and comment on your posts, Akismet takes a look at those and determines whether they are likely to be from a bot or likely not to be. So if it is likely to be from a bot, it'll either hold it for review or just flat out ban that comment and not actually run it on your site. So it helps to prevent bots from spam commenting on your blog. And not just bots, but also humans who may be spamming the old-fashioned hard way. But yeah, the idea is keeps your comments clean. If you want to run comments, then Akismet is probably something you want to have so that you don't get a lot of spam. Next up, regenerate thumbnails. Force regenerate thumbnails is also a good option that does exactly the same thing. So as you change your themes around and make changes to your site, or just a lot of time goes on and you have all of these little spaces where each of your images may show on your site, and WordPress likes to show those as thumbnails, but it may not always have the right size for the right thumbnails created at all times. So if you run regenerate thumbnails, particularly when you change themes or something like that, then it'll make sure that for all the locations where those images are going to show up, that a reduced size thumbnail has been created to basically fill in those spots. So you will never have to have your user load the full image, which might be 2000 pixels by 2000 pixels, but your user will just have to load a smaller image, such as a 300 pixel by 400 pixel thumbnail or something to that effect. And smaller image sizes means that the pages are going to load faster and it'll be less bandwidth on your end. So it's a good idea to have these kind of plugins to make sure that your images are optimized. Next up, Google Analytics dashboard for WP. You don't have to have this tool. You can just put the Google Analytics code on your site manually if you have, well, as long as you know how to put JavaScript code in your header, or you have another tool or a theme that allows you to basically paste in the JavaScript code. But Google Analytics dashboard for WP gives you a really easy way to just tie into your Google Analytics account. They just kind of, I think, set you up with like an authentication key. So you log into Google through the tool, and then you copy the key, and that basically allows the plugin to be authenticated and to get all of your data and show that on your WordPress dashboard. So you don't even need to log into Google Analytics because you have your data all showing on the WP admin interface for WordPress. So it's basically a front-end way of seeing your data, and it's also allowing you to tie into Google Analytics really quickly. I like using it. It's a good tool. Next up, Redirection. So I'm personally using this one to redirect to my contact form. If you want to take a link and point it somewhere else, that's exactly what Redirection does. And so let's say you have a /contact link, and normally that would be for a contact page, but in my case, I'm sending my people to Typeform. But I decided later on that I don't want to use Typeform anymore. Well, all I need to do is go into Redirection, change where those links /contact and /contacts redirect to, and maybe just point them to an actual contact form in WordPress, such as Contact Form 7, or some other site where I'm managing my contact forms on. But basically, for any kind of link you want to keep track of in one place, manage, or redirect to somewhere else, possibly just so that your URLs look a little cleaner, because it looks better if it says like christutorials.com/contacts than it does if it's a completely different website or has a really long URL. So that's one way you can hide that, one way you can manage your links, and it's a cool tool. I like it. Next up, MailPoet newsletters. So for a large portion of people out there who are going to manage a WordPress site that has any kind of blog, they're going to want to have a mail newsletter as well. So that might be as simple as something like FeedBurner, which I think is Google, which can just kind of notify your viewers whenever you have a new RSS post, which is basically whenever you have a new blog post. But it could also be like MailPoet or a newsletter, where you collect mailing subscriptions on your website, possibly with a sidebar widget, and then you can create newsletters in the backend interface send that to people. You can also see MailPoet has automated emails as well, post notifications, which is the same kind of thing that FeedBurner does. From what I've seen, being able to create the newsletters and the backend interface, that does actually give you some cool tools to make it look nice. So this is just one option for doing newsletters on your site. You don't need an external service, which they mentioned very specifically here. MailChimp and Aweber are the two big ones for external services. And basically, you just manage your newsletter straight from your website, and that's pretty sweet. So it's a good tool. It's definitely popular. You can see 300 plus active installs at the moment. I would say check it out. Give it a shot. Next up, WordFence security. Okay, so you like antivirus on your computer. Windows 10 comes with Windows Defender, and you can always install AVG, Avira, whatever antivirus, maybe Komodo. And the whole idea there is you protect your system from bad stuff, whether that's malware, bad programs, or viruses, obviously, that kind of thing. So WordFence security is kind of playing along those same things. So it's got a web firewall to help prevent hacking. It will automatically block IPs that try to spam your site, possibly with like a brute force login attack or similar things of that nature. It would be kind of too much to go into all the little details here, but you can kind of think of it as a firewall antivirus specifically for a WordPress site that just runs in the background and helps to keep your site secure. So they have a free version and premium versions as well. Well, yeah, actually over 22 million downloads. That's pretty insane. And they have a nice dashboard which talks about all of the possible vulnerabilities on your site. So if there's any bad code in your theme that may be sending data to somewhere else, it checks for that, which is really sweet. Also shows the people who got blocked, where those IP addresses were located, and all these other kind of things. It's actually amazing that they can offer anything like that for free. But of course, upgrading to Pro would get you more features, as always. So yeah, I definitely use WordFence. I think it's a solid plugin. So I believe that's actually, oh, no, number 10, sorry guys, AutoOptimize. So similar to WP Cache, this is about speeding up your website. So when code is written, like HTML, PHP, JavaScript, it's written with kind of to be human readable. Like, you don't put too much information on one line, you'll have extra white spaces, stuff like that. But what AutoOptimize and similar plugins can do is compress those files, minimize them, basically reduce the code that the programmer's written to the minimum amount of space it takes for it to be machine readable. And the smaller your code is in actual file size, the quicker that the computers, both the user's computer and also the server's computer, is going to be able to read and transmit that data. So by minimizing your files, it makes it hard to read as like a human being, but it makes it much quicker on the computers and the transmission of that data over the internet. So AutoOptimize, it's going to basically speed up your site by doing exactly that, creating a minimized version of all your code, and using that to basically send off to your viewers. In general, it will just speed up your site because the code is smaller file size, loads quicker. That's basically the gist of it there. And wow, I'm kind of out of voice right now. So anyway, that's my top 10 plugins using right now that are free. I mean, a lot of them do have pro versions, but the free ones are solid and good enough for most purposes. Elementor Page Builder, WP Supercache, Ust SEO, Akismet, Regenerate Thumbnails, Google Analytics Dashboard for WP, Redirection, MailPoet Newsletters, WordFence Security, and finally AutoOptimize for making your JS, HTML, and PHP code smaller. So I have been Chris. I hope this has been a fun and useful video for you guys out there as you try to get your WordPress sites up and running. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys in my future video content.